To the from Illinois, Mr. Kinzinger, and the gentleman from Pennsylvania, Mr. Doyle, each will control 20 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Illinois.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent that all members may have 5 legislative days in which to revise and extend their remarks and insert extraneous materials into the record on the bill.
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield myself such time as I may consume.
Gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. S512 makes targeted common sense reforms to the Nuclear Regulatory Commission's fee structure. The current fee structure threatens to unnecessarily increase the financial burden on the nation's nuclear fleet, including the 4 plants I'm so proud to represent in Illinois. This bipartisan bill will ensure transparency, predictability, and fairness in the regulatory process, which will keep the United States as the global leader of clean, safe, and reliable nuclear power. This bill reflects thoughtful bipartisan and bicameral consensus on what is needed for a robust nuclear industry going forward, and I urge my colleagues to join me in voting to enact these important reforms into law. With that, Mr. Speaker, I will reserve.
Gentleman reserves the balance of his time. Gentleman from Pennsylvania.
Mr. Speaker, I yield myself as much time as I may consume.
Gentleman is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I appreciate the opportunity to speak about Senate Bill 512, the Nuclear Energy Innovation and Modernization Act. This legislation contains language from H.R. 1320, the Nuclear Utilization of Keynote Energy Act, or NUKE Act, that I introduced in the House with my colleague, Representative Adam Kinzinger. The NUKE Act passed the House in September, and I'm glad to see that the Senate has also supported these important priorities for the nuclear industry. I would like to thank Senators Barrasso and Whitehouse for introducing this legislation in the Senate, and I want to thank my friend Representative Kinzinger for working together to advance the NUKE Act in the House. This legislation is very timely as the nuclear industry is facing pressure from a variety of factors. Ensuring clarity and reliability for the industry will be an important step, and I believe this legislation accomplishes those goals. Mr. Speaker, before I conclude, I would like to note that my colleague, Representative Gene Green, a co-sponsor of the NUKE Act, is retiring at the end of Congress. I want to commend Mr. Green for his service to the people of Texas, and I want to wish him the best in his retirement. Thank you again to Mr. Kinzinger, and I urge my colleagues to support this legislation. And with that, I yield back the balance of my time.